Okay, so before you, I have a an example geomantic figure, and I talked about how there are four parts of it. And this is one of the reasons why geomancy has been known to be called the terrestrial astrology or the earth-based astrology. It's also been called things like theoretical alchemy, and you'll see as we go along why it kind of got these names over the years because of the different implications it gives. So here is a geometric figure. This geometric figure, odd, odd, even, odd, is the figure known as puer. Puer, P-U-E-R. Puer, of course, means boy, or some say the warrior. And you can remember that because it looks like testes, it's like testicles, right? So it's a boy, it's a male, okay? Um, you can also look at it as a sword, all right, carried by a warrior. Whatever icon comes to your mind, just remember this is puer. And you'll normally hear me refer to them by their binary. So I'll say odd, odd, even, odd. That's representing the one. As you see, we have one diamond on the first line, another single diamond on the second line. Then we have a set of double diamonds on the third line, and then again a single diamond on the fourth line. So that's your odd, odd, even, odd. So for example, if you were to use a coin and you flipped it 4 times and you would assign heads to odd and tails to even, then you would have, flipped heads first, then heads again, then tails, then heads again. I'm going to render this figure. Now, the four parts of this, or the anatomy of a geomantic figure, okay, is by the top line is called the head. So maybe we call the headline, and it represents the element of fire. So you'll notice again about we talk about alchemy that these are going to be ranked and based according to their alchemical density. So the ancients believed that, of course, fire was the lightest and the most refined element. The next after that was a little bit heavier came air. The next after that, a little bit denser, a little bit heavier came water. Then, of course, the densest out of all of them, the heaviest out of all of them was earth. So here we have a headline, a neckline, a body line, and a feet line. So you're either here referred to as the head, the neck, the body, and the feet. Sometimes it's called the head, the neck, the throat, excuse me. And sometimes the body is called the belly, just depending on what text you're using or what reference you're looking at. But they mean the same thing. Okay, so the headline represents the fire, the neckline represents air, the body or the belly line represents water, and of course the feet represent earth. Right, you stand on the earth with your 2 feet. So for those of you who have either alchemical background or you've been working with the tarot, then this will be very, very familiar with you, or if you're even in the Kabbalah or astrology, this will be very familiar with you as far as looking at wands, swords, cups, pentacles, that kind of a thing. And as we get a little bit more detail, we'll begin to break down why understanding the anatomy of the figure is so important. Because by understanding the anatomy of the figure, you kind of get an idea of the energy and the characteristics of the figure. Are you still with me?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay. Any questions so far?
No.
Okay. So for example, of course, air and fire are traditionally seen as masculine or as electric or extroverting and projective energies, projective elements. Whereas water and earth are seen to be more receptive, more feminine, and more magnetic elements. So that being said, this being the figure puer, the boy or the warrior, you can already see its makeup just in how the figure is shaped. So a single dot or a single point or an odd represents active. Whereas we see in the body line or the belly in the water line, we see 2 dots, which indicates passive. So think of it as on and off, right? Again, we're looking at kind of the binary system. Now, what's so funny is that the binary system that works today in computers all over the world has its origins in this science. That's very, very fascinating. So it's nothing. So this is a very old science. It predates Taro by at least 800 years. It has been known as the forgotten sister of astrology. It's been known as poor man's astrology. As we get into a couple lessons, you actually see why. Because unlike modern astrology or Renaissance astrology or medieval astrology, as it's called, where you have to have a telescope or an ephemeris that can calculate the movements of the planets, where's the sun right now, where's the moon tomorrow. With geomancy or astrological geomancy, you don't need to know any of that. You didn't need to know what degree the sun was in or was it aspect in Saturn. You didn't need to know any of that kind of stuff. So literally, anybody who was trained in the art could perform it with relative ease. So whereas the elites were employing, their astrologers to predict and to advise them, more so like the middle class, I guess you can say, or kind of the working class, were able to reasonably afford getting to a geomancer and getting some of the relative services. So again, this is the geometric figure pu'er. Okay, so that being said, now that we kind of have some basic technique on how to generate a figure and the anatomy of a figure, let's look at something else here. Let's make it bigger for
yeah, I see it.
Okay, so these are the these are the 16 geomantic figures that are, you can find the stuff already in the group, the information behind it. We'll go over a little bit of it here, but just to kind of do a rough draft. Hey, Maite, how you doing, dear? So these are the 16 geomantic figures. Now, something I will want to iterate here, because this is an Eastern science, this system works from right to left. I know it's native for us to move from left to right because we're here in the West, but it is read, it is worked from right to left. Okay, like Hebrew and some of the other Eastern systems. All right, so don't let that confuse you. As you kind of get a hang of it, it'll make perfect sense to you. Okay, these are the 16 geometric figures. By casting what they would call the lots, or whether it's your cards or your dice, or some people use their pendulum, whatever the case may be. There's really no situation in which you cannot cast for a geometric figure. There's so many creative ideas out there, whether you have dice or cards or not. Like I said, you can pick up a leaf, okay, and drop it on the ground. And if it falls one side, that would be even. If it falls the other side, that would be odd, etc. Hey, Tiffany, how you doing? What's going on? People coming in. Okay. Anyway. So that being said, these are your geometric figures, right? I'm gonna go over them.
I'm sorry, Doc. I didn't know. I didn't realize I had it on mute. I was saying I'm late. I was asleep. But is there any way I can see the recording or for the parts I missed?
Absolutely, absolutely. We're gonna have this recorded.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
We got it. What was that? So the 16 geometric figures, right? So in this, there are so many different convolutions of it. If you are familiar, we talked about people who have backgrounds in alchemy, people have backgrounds in tarot, people have backgrounds in astrology. If you have a background even in psychology, okay, they tell you about the Myers-Briggs test, which is a personality test. And ironically enough, isn't it interesting that there are 16 types or 16 personality types out there? So once again, that also can be correlated. And I've seen different systems out there, how they mix and match them to the 16 geometric figures. what I'm getting at is this number 16, the science is very easy to correlate with other modern sciences out there, is the point I'm making, all right? There's a lot of modern benefit to it. So just going again from right to left to kind of get you in the mode of reading from right to left, we're gonna start here. You see this looks like two lines together, even is this makeup, right? And what does it look like? It looks like, to me, all right, it looks like people in a line. Now I'm thinking about like Walmart, right? People just in a line waiting to get to something or waiting to get out of something, or people who are just in single file. Okay, so this is the geomantic figure called populus. Populus, Populus, and again, all these figures are in the group files. Populus, as you can kind of gather, means population, or the people, or the crowd. Okay, so this indicates, one of the things that it indicates, obviously, is that it's more than one individual involved, but normally it says that the outcome is going to be dependent upon more than just you, or upon more than just the individual asking the question. There are the people that are going to decide this, whether it's society, whether it's your focus group, whether it's your investors, whatever the case may be. This is not a one-man job. Those are one of the many meanings behind populus. Okay, the next one we see here, I want to make sure, can you guys see my my cursor?
No.
No.
You can't? Okay.
I can see the screen, but not the cursor.
All right, let me.
Well, now I can see it.
You can see it now?
Move it around, yeah.
You can? Okay, all right. So that was populus. So here we have the figure albus. Now, if you like me and you've always been a weirdo, then of course you know Albus is from Harry Potter, right? Albus Dumbledore. No, no. Okay, yeah, okay. All weirdos out there. Hey, weirdo friend.
We love Harry Potter.
So Albus Dumbledore. So J.K. Rowling, we know, that chick didn't roll off the bed with ideas. She went and did her research. Okay. So Albus means, in Latin, it means white, right? And this also is a little wink to another alchemical process called the whitening, where you cause the thing to be heated up until it turns white. But the idea is that it represents wisdom, or a cerebral person, or your intellectual faculties, the logic behind a thing, the rationale behind it. When you thought over again, it is the bookworm. If you're thinking in terms of tarot, think the hermit. Okay, it's probably, this figure is not going to be so much in the midst of everybody. Okay, they're seen as an expert, and we all know when you become too smart, people can't really relate to you, right? Sometimes you want to be off to yourself to kind of involve yourself, or to immerse yourself in your study. That's kind of the idea of Albus. If you look at it in it as a glyph, or the sigil rather, it looks like a goblet standing upright, right? You got your two little head of the goblet, your little stem, and then the base of the goblet. So it's the idea of a cup that is full, all right? The idea behind that is that it's a cup full of wisdom, right? So it's the figure that means the white, or the white-headed, or the wise, or the logical, the reasoning, the rationale, all right? And in many systems, it relates to Mercury in Gemini, just to kind of show you just how cerebral and logical it is. So if you're thinking about in terms of, for those out there who are magicians, who work with energies, then Albus is a very good sigil for when you want to master a science, or to help with studying, or clarity of mind, right? When you want to get the expertise in a field, anything that pertains to the mind, logic, rationale study, all those kinds of things, Albus is very, very good to work with in those regards. All right, next we have here the figure Amicio. Amicio. Now, if you was a church, a church child like I was, the old folks would say you pray amiss, You know, that's what you say. You didn't get it because you prayed amiss. Well, that word amisio means amiss, or literally means lost, is what it means in the Latin. It means lost. So if you look at it as an icon, it looks like a bag with a coin falling out of it. Okay, and again, this is odd, even, odd, even. It's like a coin falling out of a bag. So it means loss. All right, and that's basically what it means in a divination sense as well. It means to lose something has moved out of your grip, out of your grasp. In most situations, it is an unfavorable figure. Obviously, nobody wants to lose, but the ancients said it is unfavorable in most things except for love. I'm gonna scratch your brain, see who's been studying. Can anybody tell me why amisio would be good if it came up in a love reading?
Is that the one? Is that the one that means joy? I should have had my notes out. Is that the one that means joy?
This is the one that means loss.
Loss. Okay.
I'll give you a hint. What is something you want to be stolen in a romantic relationship?
Oh, your heart.
Your heart, right? So amisio is good in matters of love because it represents losing your heart to somebody.
Okay.
Yeah, quaint. I know it's a little cliche, but that's what the ancients have said.
No, but it makes sense. It makes sense.
No,
So it also would be favorable if the reading is about a person who currently has sickness and you wanted to know if they will recover. Will they lose the disease? Will they lose the sickness? You see, so amisio is not always, and you'll notice this from these figures. One is not, always bad. Okay, it kind of depends on the situation at hand. So next we have, as we talked about earlier, puer, which again is the boy or the warrior, and it indicates drive, force. However, puer, being a young boy, being an adolescent, he's a little bit reckless. Okay, he's not as seasoned and as wise and as calculating as, let's say, Albus is. He's more so act first, think later, right? So in many accounts, he is related to Mars in Aries, right? Kind of the mountain goat that jumps and leaps, without a second thought of if it's going to land on his feet or not. So puer is always when they want to charge into something. They want to be very ambitious energy. It is an energy of drive, of force, of push, of passion. And so the ancients said that puer is good in all matters that young boys would be good in, predominantly love and war. And we want passion in our love life. You want drive. If you're in a competition, you want that push, that force, that drive, that raw energy, that kinetic, that dynamism behind it to keep you driven to get to your goal. And even if it is about a conflict or a competition, all of those things fall under the divinatory properties of puer. And again, magically, for the same reason, right? Obviously, puer would represent the male or the male energy. If you're talking about, like, let's say love work or a love situation, okay? Of course, predominantly it was a younger male. To use it as a talisman or as a sigil when wanting to spice up or to add more passion to a relationship. But also, if you find yourself in the crosshairs or something, if you find yourself under attack, right? So puer is going to help to mount up and to address and to counterattack, okay? So next we have here the inverse of Albus. We see here the upside down goblet, and the name of this figure is Rubeus. Rubeus, which again is another Harry Potter reference. Wonder who can catch it. Anybody know how Rubeus is a Harry Potter reference?
Rubeus. Is that black? Rubius, not Rubius. No.
I give you a hint. Rubius means, albus means white. Rubius or the
Oh,
whitening.
black.
No. Rubius, what does it sound like?
Rubius sounds like Ruben. Albus.
Like red.
It
Ruby.
Oh yeah,
it
red.
sounds like ruby.
Yeah,
Right?
like ruby. So
So it means red or the reddening, and it relates to Hagrid, Rubius Hagrid.
Oh, Hagrid.
Yes, most people don't know him by his first name, but his first name is Rubius Hagrid. As we know, he's a big guy. He's rough. He's prone to drinking.
I think they did mention him one time.
Yeah, I think they probably when they were coming to interrogate him. I don't know.
Oh.
So the idea is that the upturned cup is Albus, the upside down or the overturned cup is Rubius. And just like we see in the movie, how they kind of are a foil of each other, right? They're kind of they kind of show how distinct, how different Albus Dumbledore and Rubius Hagrid is, right? One is more calm and calculating and wise, and one is more reckless and rambunctious and wanting to go do and think about it later. So if you think Rubius is kind of when Puer becomes older and not contained, right? This is your idea of the bad boy, right? One who is violent, they are belligerent. It is about all of your vices, okay? So whereas Puer would be, let's say, Mars in Aries, Rubius would be Mars in Scorpio, okay? So think of, if again, we're talking about Taro, one of the associations you can make is the devil card. Right, represents all the vices, drunkenness and lust and lasciviousness, and all these kinds of things that are more darker or more wild and untamed, right? That always becomes problematic. So Rubius was seen as such an unfavorable figure. If it ended up being the first figure that you cast for your reading, the ancients said, destroy the reading. Stop right there. And destroy it, you destroy the reading. You would say, burn it. That's how unfavorable they thought Rubius was. The idea was that you didn't want to start off your reading with Rubius. It was already a bad sign. So it represents, like I said, a cup overturned. Now, it meaning the red or the reddening, one author said that it represented a cup that's been tipped over and blood is pouring out of it. Okay, so there is an idea of a violence attached to it or an aggression attached to it. Okay, next we have old, soft, and delicate Puella. Right, Puella, odd, even, odd, odd. Which Puella, Puer means boy, so Puella would mean
girl.
Girl, exactly. Puella means girl. And as I said before, you can remember Puer because it looks like a sword or like testicles, right? Male testes. So then Puella looks like breast, right? Woman has breast. Or you can look at it as a handheld mirror, right? Because Puella talks about beauty and the finer things and the arts and music. It also relates to, of course, women and women's issues and things that are governed by the feminine energy in most cases. But Puella, they said, is a fickle figure, right? She's very prone to change, right? They thought that women were very moody back then, you know. So one minute she wanted this, and then she said she didn't want that no more, you know, that kind of a thing. So they said that Puella is a fickle figure. So if she does come up in a reading, then it may be a yes or a no, but it's probably safe to say that the yes or the no won't last very long. Any questions so far?
Nah.
Okay, so this is like it's very, very simple. Let's see here. Puella. The next one is conjunctio. I heard a popping in my ear. Conjunctio. Conjunctio, of course, means a conjunction, right? A coming together. It means a union of forces. So again, it can indicate a meeting of some sort, a cooperation, collaboration, a meeting of the minds. All right. Again, forces coming together, a synergizing of two other energies, the two other forces. This, of course, can indicate a marriage, something very, very practical, a partnership, etc. Okay. But it means the meeting place. It represents the crossroads. So, if you are in some of the other magical traditions and you're wanting to know where you've done a spiritual working and you're wanting to know where to leave it, okay,